from the Women Worship Gospel Music Awards, and it's exciting. Best Online TV Presenter and Best Author, Female Author of the Year. So
Awesome.
I am so happy.
Awesome.
And then I am happy because I have a beautiful lady in the studio. I mean, the Nana Chichi Show, we get amazing people, awesome, beautiful, intelligent. So today I have one of them, and she is in the person of Phinnah Chichi. She is a parenting consultant and a coach. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a beautiful setup. I've just been so inspired.
Oh,
I'm
happy.
Yes.
And you are looking so colorful.
Thank you.
I love colors.
Me too.
It brings everything out of us.
Me too.
You look amazing.
Thank
Happy
you.
Sunday
You too.
to
Happy
you.
Sunday to you, and congratulations for
you.
the 2 awards. Amazing.
Thank
Amazing.
you. And today also is the carnival. Have you been to the case today and tomorrow?
Today and tomorrow.
Have you been to the carnival?
Years ago when I was much younger.
Years ago, I've been once.
Yes.
I remember we went after church. So my husband was in suit and the kids, and people were looking at us like, "It's a carnival. Why is this man in suit?" But hey, if you're going, be careful and stay safe. Today we are having a conversation of back to school. Yes. I know some parents are like, "Yes, Lord, let them go back to school." They're eating the food. I'm like, the kids are eating my food all the time. My son, he goes to the fridge like every second.
Yes.
How does that happen in your home?
Oh yeah, it's the same thing. You're not guaranteed to see the same thing you've just bought. You're not guaranteed to see it in the next 3 days.
My goodness. So some parents are happy, some parents are not so happy. And also congratulations to the children that passed their GCSE, they got their results. And those who didn't get, we still say, hey,
of course,
life, you still have to live life. So,
totally.
As a parenting coach, consultant and coach, first of all, talk me through, because every parent will be like, I'm a consultant, I'm a coach. You you cannot come and teach me how to parent my children. Tell me how you got into this.
It's every parent has the ability to model to their children what their children need. So when we call ourselves consultants or coaches, we're not really, I don't even want to use teaching the parents how to parent their children. They can do that. What we're helping parents do is help them guide their children through the different development stages. Parents don't know that naturally. You have to learn it. It's a skill to learn.
Yeah, there's no book on this planet.
Yes, it's a skill to learn. So it's not as if we're teaching them how to parent their children. We're just teaching them how to actually navigate through those stages using their own style. They're not going to use my style. They're going to use their style, but it's about them understanding those stages. Because a lot of times parents just make the assumption that they know what they're doing, and they don't. And then before you know it, childhood finishes. Yes. 0 to 18 comes so quickly. That parents don't realize it. I started this work with, first of all, I've been a teens coach. I'm a teens coach as well.
Yeah.
And originally, I'm a chartered accountant. I started with the chartered. Yes, I'm a chartered accountant. But I got to a stage of my life where I had to ask myself some life questions. What am I here to do? What is my calling? What is my purpose? So that was how I kind of started on this journey. And God showed me so much about teenagers and took me back to, I get on so well with teens. I know how to talk to them. They listen. I understand them. And so I started coaching teenagers.
So let's pause there. Chartered accountant.
Yes.
And then now a parent, sometimes we all have, we go to school, we get the qualification, but maybe that is nowhere.
Totally.
So was it your parents? I always was it your parents that said be an accountant? Because I know they all want us to be accountant, lawyers,
or doctors. No, apparently no. My mom was quite liberal. So, but I wanted to be an accountant because one of my friends said she wanted to be an accountant.
Oh.
And
best friend,
yes. And I never used to read, and she ended up not being an accountant.
Can you imagine?
But I ended up, towards the end of secondary school, I started liking maths. I started understanding
maths.
I never understood it before. I don't know if it was the teacher. I don't know what it was, but it started clicking. And I thought, oh, I know this subject. And that was how I kind of got into it. And I enjoyed it, I must say. I enjoyed the process. But when life starts to happen, you start to ask yourself, is this what I'm supposed to be doing going forward? And I was rising up. I worked at the Telegraph Media. So I was, I was there. But I had to ask myself those questions when I lost two of my aunties. My mom's only two sisters. They died in that year, and differently, just at separate points. So I asked myself, okay, what's going on here? And what is life really about? And that's when I got that calling and just realization, and really tapping into my skills already about talking to them, encouraging them, and everything. If I see something on TV about teenagers and something has happened to them, it hurts. I get so upset, So that's how I started.
That's how you started.
But working with them, they're saying, no, but my mom did this. My mom said that. My dad did this. Then I knew that it was part of my calling as well to talk to parents.
Fantastic. So you are the name of your company is Parenting Teens Solutions
yes.
Limited.
Yes.
And also you have a podcast.
Yes.
With that.
Yes.
So you have 3 children.
Yes.
And I know that one is
plus a bonus child.
Congratulations on that. So now we have one who is in the States doing very well. As a parent, when he was leaving, how did you feel?
Ooh, oh wow, that was tough. And I'm even talking to parents now about that. I didn't think it was going to be tough. But yeah, I think we went with him to the States, and on our way back, I felt I forgot something.
Oh wow!
I was feeling so strange, and I had my daughter with me, so it's not as if I was coming back alone. But I still felt like I'd left something behind.
So did you go back?
No, I didn't go back. I had to kind of navigate between that feeling and the feeling that, yes, he's supposed to go. He's supposed to grow.
Yes.
So it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. So what is he doing out there?
He's computer science.
Wow.
Yeah, he's doing computer science.
Fantastic. Congrats on that.
Thank you so much.
Just last week we saw the kids going for their results as we're talking about parenting and our teenagers, and we saw most of the kids, a big fraction didn't pass their maths and English, and so many of them have to rewrite. Some, I remember my daughter, bless her, she's the PA for the day, shout out to her. When she was going for her result, she couldn't sleep the night before. She said, Mom, my legs are wobbling, but thanks be to God she passed.
Awesome.
And she gets to do the subjects that she wants to do.
Awesome.
But most of her friends didn't. Most parents, what would you say to a parent who's definitely those whose children passed and are going, shout out to them. But what about those who didn't pass? What would you say to a parent like that?
I would tell the parents, your child did their very best. A lot of times, we grew up with looking at failures as a bad thing. And we know as adults now that when you look back, failure is not a bad thing.
I didn't do well my maths.
Failure is really a feedback. And they have the opportunity to do these resits. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of the resits are done in November of this year. So what parents can then do, instead of, I'm praying that parents have not kind of looked at it in an angry way towards their children.
African parents don't have the time to pamper you. You did not pass the exam.
It's about supporting them, because the way we react towards their failure today is going to determine how they work towards failures in the future. So it's not, when I say it's not about, when I tell parents to support, it's about now, okay, helping them. How can we do better next time? That's the key. How can we do better? If I shout at you, criticize you, call you all names now, what spirits are you going to have? What encouragement are you going to have to then do better in November? In the past years, we see kids who resit it and fail it again. Resit it and fail it again, and they have to pass it. So the best thing I will tell parents is to go to the drawing board. What went wrong? What did I not do well? What did I do well in? How did I revise? How can I do better? Those are the questions to then ask your young people. And because of the support you give them, they will be more encouraged to do it better. And you know what? The projection of them doing better would even be higher just because they failed this part. Because of the support you've given them, they will even want to do better. And a lot of times in university, even surpass many young people who did well.
Fantastic. So the support is very important.
The support is too important.
Support is very important. Don't be. I know we where we grew up, where you and I are from, we didn't have it like that. It was we had the cane, or the words, and you've got to. You don't, and the comparison of friends. Oh, so and so daughter did XYZ, so you've got to. Do you think we have to do that?
No, we don't.
Comparing our kids
at all,
even with their siblings.
At all, we don't. It's a big no, very big no. Because I tell you something, a lot of us that had that when we were growing up, in adulthood it affects us. It's just that we don't relate it to it affecting us. We compare ourselves to people because of the things that we heard growing up. In some families, those comparisons caused serious sibling rivalries, where in adulthood siblings are not speaking to each other because of the comparisons that were done when they were younger. So I always, it's one of those big C's that I talk about. No comparisons, no criticisms. We can't repeat those same mistakes. We just can't. And we live in a day and age now where we have a lot of statistics and data that proves to us the effects that those things cause. Our parents didn't have access to the data. So our parents just did what they knew to do. We have access to this data. So if we repeat what our parents did with the knowledge of the data results, then we're putting ourselves in a very big risk. And today's children are different from us. This generation, don't joke with this generation.
The TikTok and the Snapchat, and
don't joke with this generation.
In saying that, do you think, as parents as well, we see sometimes I've taken my son's phone from him because of I thought his friends were having influence on him, and things like that. Sometimes I think you have to do that in terms of discipline them, but then explain why you were taking it from them. You don't just take it for taking sake.
Yeah, that's the key. It's about the communication that is around that taking the phone. It's about the respectful communication that is around that. How old is your son?
He's 13.
He's 13, yes. So that's a good age. That's an age where that's still very appropriate. I wouldn't encourage anybody to be doing that to a 17-year-old son.
Why?
Because he's older. He's almost an adult. There has to be more communication on that and just advice on that. As they get to older teen years, it's not about them taking it from them. We've got to respect them, because do you know what? If the communication around the taking phone is not respectful, they will find other ways to still get into that stuff you're trying to take them away from. They will find other ways. And that's why the respectful communication gets them to understand, do you know what mom is saying is right, I don't need to get involved with these guys. These guys are they're no good. I can hear what mom is trying to tell me. I can hear what dad is trying to tell me. That's the position we want our children to get to. We don't want our children to stop doing something just because of the fear from us.
Growing up, we were scared.
We were scared
of when they say my dad is coming, we have to jump walls.
Jump walls or walk, go through the backyard. That's not what we want. We want our children to be able to think for themselves. Like, you know what she said makes sense. What he said makes sense. That's the goal.
But some people will also say that some say your children have to be your best friend, and then some say no, as a mother, as a father, your children don't have to be your best friend. How do you differentiate that?
I call it, I would rather say I'm a friendly parent. That's how I term it. I don't call my daughter, my daughter and I, we're very close, but I don't call her my friend. She's my daughter, and we have a very good friendly relationship and respectful relationship. The thing about calling our children friends is that it confuses them as well, because if they're your friends, then don't expect them to do everything that you want them to do, because they don't do everything that their friends tell them to do. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
So it's the message it gives our children. We say, oh, I'm your best friend. Then the next minute you're telling them, you better go put this away, or you're confusing them. So I'd rather be a friendly mom, a lovely mom, a respectful mom. I'd rather be that, so that my children know their friends are separate, and then I know that we're separate. So it's having those friendly characteristics. A friend will listen to them. Let's be a parent who listens to them.
Yes.
A friend will respect them. Let's be a parent who respects them. A friend will not criticize them. Let's be a parent who doesn't criticize them. So really, what we do is we're embracing the characteristics of a friend. Not that we are friends with them, because we are their parents.
We are their parents.
Yeah.
And also, I think it helps when they need to have a conversation with you. They will be open than going out there and having a conversation with a stranger.
Yes,
that is fantastic. So talk to us about your podcast. How did that come by?
Oh wow, my podcast, you know, there's this guy I follow on Facebook, John Obidi, and he just shared something, and he said, if you had just started this podcast, just start it. If you're thinking of starting a podcast, just start it. And I thought to myself, why not start it? And it's easier these days to start it.
Yes.
I just went on Anchor on my phone. I created podcasts. And I started speaking to the podcast. I started speaking in there. I started speaking. And then from there, just sharing, because I love speaking. And from there, just sharing just my thoughts. I've only done a few interviews on the podcast. It's mostly me just speaking on different terms. And it's gone like about a year or 2 years ago, I found out that it was number 11 in the top 60 parenting teens podcasts.
Wow. Congratulations.
I was shocked when I saw that. It was about starting.
Yes, starting.
It was just about starting. And I love this quote that says, you don't have to be great to get started, but you've got to get started to be great.
Yes.
So it's been a beautiful journey, and I've also been guest on a lot of other people's podcasts, and it's just, that's the way it started. That's the
fantastic.
Way it started.
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
You know, so back to school.
Yes.
Parents are like, yes, back to school. We know times are hard. New term.
Yes.
New uniform.
Yes.
New stuff. Everything. How can we encourage some parents who maybe they wouldn't have the means to support, because some of the uniforms are very expensive? Are there any way you can advise parents in not being overwhelmed, but take it a day at a time?
Yes. I think the first thing for parents, and I'm going to talk even on behalf, even for myself, when I get to back to school terms, is we have to be, if we can afford the new uniforms every new year, fine. If you can't afford it, they can still wear what they wore last year. You can wash, dry clean it. You can still do that kind of stuff. If they've not outgrown it, does it mean that every September we need to buy new uniforms? I didn't.
Not those boys that are growing like
exactly. So I think, and then we have to kind of think about, okay, yes, there's some certain things you have to buy in the uniform shop because of the school badge and all those things. There are other things you can still buy in the stores, in Tesco, in Asda. You can still buy the white shirts, the cardigans, the skirts. So it's just about knowing your means and kind of going according to that, and not comparing yourself to other parents.
We come back to the comparing,
because that's what happens. A lot of times parents are comparing. Oh, I don't want my child to look this way. I don't want parents to think that I can't afford it. Why are we thinking that? Do you know what I mean? Just do what you can do, and empower your children. That's the whole point. Because I don't believe in, no matter how much we have or we don't have, I don't believe in us throwing that onto our children. Let our children be empowered, rather than, oh, I can't afford this, oh, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. When our children keep hearing those poverty-minded kind of conversations, it doesn't empower them. And it actually puts some children off. And that's why you see some children who go into making some decisions that we don't like.
Yes. So it's about empowering and encouraging our children. Now we also know parents are busy. They're going back to school. Some parents don't even have the time to sit down to look at their children's timetable, because maybe mom, dad have to do a night shift. So by the time they're coming home, they're going to school. By the time they come back, you're going. And how can give us advice and tips of how parents should make time? Because I know for sure there are parents out there who haven't got a clue about what is going on in their children's school life.
That is a priority. It's actually a big priority. An involved parent in the school, your children are more likely to come out more successful when you're involved in their school. And I think it's about parents prioritizing. Yes, you got to go to work in the evening. That's not a problem.
Or even in the
day, that's not a problem. But I believe in quality time over quantity. Yeah. So even if it takes you 20 minutes to go through your children's school bag and their timetable and stuff, that's something. We can't say we don't have that 20 minutes. Really, work out your 24 hours. You will see that there are lots of pockets of times that you can get to do something and put it as a routine.
Yeah.
Even if it's once a week, again, depending on the ages of the children. The older they get, the less frequent you're checking their timetables are. But the younger they are, then yes, just put in, even if it's 10 minutes. And your child knowing that you're interested in their timetable, you're interested in what they did in
Homework.
school, it gives them that closeness to you as well, because they know that you're involved. So let's not use work as an excuse. Because we can't justify that.
We can't justify that because the days it's like you didn't sign a signature, you didn't look. They came home on Friday, you didn't go through the bag. Monday they go to school and the school is calling you like So these are these little things that, and also parents meeting. Moms and dads sometimes don't, and it's so important. Too important. How important is it?
It's very important because it's so important that the school knows that these students have involved parents. You will notice that even when you're more involved, the teachers take notice of you. When parents are more involved, I don't want to say the teachers look after your children more, but it's part of that. If they don't see parents at all, they don't know parents at all, then that extra support to give the kids is not usually there. They need to see the parents, talk to the parents. Parents, ask them questions. Know the parents. Let the teachers and the school know that you are a serious parent. Yes, I did that. I was very, very involved. I even became a parent governor in the school, and then later on became an assistant chair governor in the school because I was very involved in what was going on in the school. And if a teacher is going to be talking to my daughter or my son, they would remember, no, Phinnah is a parent governor. She gives a lot to the school in terms of time and her resources. They'll look after your child more.
It's so true. So as parents, we really have to get involved. And I like what you said, the way that teachers would treat our children, because if you don't, they treat them anyhow. And that is why we are having, especially in our community, we see most of especially the boys, they are taking them to this what's it called?
Pro schools.
Alternative schools. And sometimes it's just because parents are not there. It's just because parents are not involved. Because if you are involved and you take your time and you see what is going on in your sons, your daughters' life, then these teachers, because teachers are making decisions for our children. And then we stand out and we make noise.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you say to parents?
We have to be so involved, because as soon as you said that, I just remembered something as well, that sometimes our children, they go to school and some teachers, I'm not saying all teachers, but some teachers would tell them some negative things about themselves. You're no good. Or what do you think you can, So some negative things that they tell our children out of maybe, yes, the child wasn't listening. Okay, fair enough, he wasn't listening. But the words that they then use. And these words settle into our children's minds. And then if we are so busy at home that we don't even have time to listen to them, to catch those words, so that we can replace them. Because if a teacher says, oh, what are you doing? You're never serious. If you don't catch that gist in the day or in the week, then you're not going to have the opportunity to tell your child who they are. To say, oh, you are going places. You're going to do better than that. Do you know what I mean? And you lose those opportunities. And then your child subconsciously is going around thinking they're no good. Or they get angry very easily when somebody does something to them. But it's because of the words, the negative words, and the negative treatments they've actually received. I'm not saying that this applies to all teachers, but there are some teachers who definitely don't talk well to our children. Or who treat our children differently from other kids. It happens in schools.
It happens in school. So as the children are going back to school, going back the new academic term, is so important. If you're a parent and you have never been involved, I know there are parents who have never been involved. They don't have to, single parent, double parents, if we can say that.
Yeah.
You know, this time, make it a conscious effort.
Definitely.
To be part of your children's life.
Yes.
To be part of their going out and they're coming in. Even if you say 20 minutes.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't have
time.
to be 24 hours. Yes. It doesn't
make
have
that
to be.
time. So as you've gone through this journey, you've been in this business for over 14 years now. What are some of the traits you've seen in teenagers that you think we should look out for as they're going back to school?
I think one of the main things is clarity sometimes. You know, a lot of times, one of the biggest traits that we've seen with teenagers is sometimes parents making the assumption that the teenagers know what to do. I always encourage, now that we're going back to school, have a family meeting. Have a family meeting with your kids and say, okay, it's time now to go back to school. We're going back to school in September. What are our goals? Let every child write down their goals. We do that in my family, even up till now.
We do that at the beginning of the year, but not beginning of the
September.
term.
Yes, beginning of the September school year is a good time to do it as well. Just so that they have clear expectations, and it's conversational. It's not as if we're telling them what their goals should be. We want them to speak about it. What are your goals? And then get everyone to have, okay, what's our routine going to be like? When is bedtime now from September?
No more just
yes. So when is bedtime? And everyone will be like, oh, my bedtime can be 11, and we'll just laugh about it. But set those things in place in a family meeting. And the reason why it's so good to do it in a family meeting is that you're not shouting at them about, you should do this, you should do that. It's all being agreed. I'm not saying that because we agreed, that means they're going to follow it all through. But they will always remember. Remember what we talked about. Even if you have to write them down.
Yeah, write it down.
Write it down so that they get used to it. And that family meeting is family connection time as well. And it's important to make it clear. Homework time, okay, let's make sure that our homework is done way before. Give yourself, I always encourage them, give yourself an earlier deadline so that you're not doing a lastminute.com stuff. You know, so make all that clear in the family meeting. Let the family meeting be jovial, even if there's snacks, drinks, just so that we have a lovely time while we're making some serious decisions. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And because the kids love that.
Yeah.
Because they hear us.
Parents involved.
Yes. They hear us say, "Oh, we have a meeting. We have a meeting." Now you're telling them to be part of a meeting. They love it. So I would say prepare your children for that, because a lot of times our children don't have that clarity and they just walk into school and they just go with the flow. They go with the flow. But if your children have the clarity in the house, they know the goals, they know the values that they're holding on to, then they go into school and it's less likely for them to be influenced by negative peer pressure, because they have a goal, they have a family set of goals that they're aiming for.
That is wonderful. I love that. You know, as I said, we do it in the beginning of the year where we do the goals, the vision. But this, because then they teaching them, it takes them into adulthood. Because most people, I think I shared this morning, are just walking about, don't know who they are, they don't know their identity, they just messed up. Because these are some of the foundations that we need to set at home, which helps and propels them into adulthood and to what they want to do. Then sometimes you ask these girls or boys, what are you doing in school? I'm just doing it. I don't know. You know, I don't know. They say I don't know. So, but even if it's you as a single parent, or even if mom and dad is there, find that time.
Totally.
It's so important. I am just loving this conversation. We are so going back to school
ready,
ready. And what would you say to parents that are like, they're overwhelmed that their kids are, because sometimes you have them at home, you're happy, you know, you can send them, you know, African parents, give me that.
Put the remote.
Even you were sitting here, you will call them to come and pick the remote. What would you tell parents who are overwhelmed that their kids are going back to school? Even though they want them to go, but some people can't. You know, or those whose children are leaving home to go to uni and all that.
It's a tricky time, but I want parents to. I acknowledge their feelings. I acknowledge that and validate that. I also tell them to look in the long term. Look with the long term view. It's all for their good. They're going back to school, it's for their good. They're going back to boarding school. Some kids are going to have to go back to boarding school. It's for their good. Some kids are going to university. It's for their good.
Some kids are going outside the country.
And they're going outside the country. It's for their good. Even though we're going to miss them. But that's what parenting is about. You know, parenting is not just about having the kids and controlling them all 24/7.
We African parents.
They're going to grow. They've got to grow. They've got to leave the nests. They've got to evolve. We can't be around them 24/7.
It's scary though.
It is scary. It is scary, but if we do the work right, and of course you've got God on your side as well. If you keep communicating to God and letting God guide you as you guide your children, then you sit down settled that, you know what, I know I can't do it all, but someone is looking after them, even without me being there.
It can be scary because we hear all the some go and they get into trouble, some go and all the things that we hear.
That is why relationship is very important. We call it the relationship over rules.
Okay.
So rather than focus so much on the rules, this is our rule, focus on how do you nurture this relationship. Because when you nurture the relationship, no matter where they are, you will always be present in their mind, and not present out of fear.
I know you said hallelujah.
Yes. Yes. And not present out of fear, like, oh, I better do this because mom might do this, I better do this because dad might do that. Not that. Just present of the awareness that I'm making my mom proud. I'm making my dad proud. Yeah. I am who I am.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you want.
Yes.
So relationship over rules.
Yes, relationship. I love that because some are praying to get out of the house so that they can go partying and all that. But I like that. So if you're a parent and you're listening and you're that parent that, you know, you see someone Instagram, that mother, that emoji that she's so strict.
Yeah, too strict.
You know, too strict. Yeah. So when you build that relationship, even when they leave and they come home, they come. Some mothers, when their kids are on holiday, they don't even want to come home.
Because
home is hell.
Many of them. Oh, I've seen that. That's part of the trends that I see a lot.
Now if we want to tell a parent that is like that and a student, a daughter's son who doesn't want to come home, what are we going to tell them?
I'll tell the parent to calm down because do you know what? They're not going to be young for too long. They will not be young for too long. So that over strictness, it doesn't pay off. It doesn't. I've not seen a place where over strictness and being so harsh pays off. We might think that's the best thing to do because it gets you the immediate results, but you've got to think of the long term. And many of them don't think of the long term. And many of them are paying the price now. They don't share it in the world. They don't share it, but they're paying the price for it because relationship is not existent.
Gone.
And some of the kids now in today's world, they are ready to not speak to their parents.
It's amazing.
Now that when they're grown up, they're ready for that. That's this generation. It's okay for them because they look at their emotional well-being and their mental health very important. Is priority to them. And if we were not there, and that's the thing, because sometimes parents, we say, oh, we paid the bills, we bought them this, we paid their school fees. Yes, we did all that, but if we didn't take care of the emotional side and the relationship side, there's a big potential that you will not be connected in the future.
Wow. And before we round up, you know, many of us are believers as well. We go to church and that we take them to Sunday school. Now the children, they're going back to school, so they won't be home for us to drag them to church. But what do you think of now our bringing up our children and the church?
I love the word where you said drag them to church. I love that because that's what happens. And so because they're just dragged to church, come on, let's go to church, come on, let's go to church. By the time they get to uni and stuff, it's like, it's not a big deal. And there are many that still go to church in uni because you go to uni, there's lots of fellowships going on in university. So that's, you know, it's there. But then there's still those numbers that don't go anymore. And the reason is, when I talk to young people, they talk about a hypocrisy kind of thing that they see at home.
Oh dear.
Where in church, their moms and dads are
on fire,
for Jesus. The Holy Spirit is on point. But when they come home, it's a different story. And our children see us from both sides.
As you said, we need to model.
So we need to model. So that Christianity that we're talking about, we've got to modulate at home. And that's why I tell parents, if we are at home taking on the culture. You know, sometimes I want to even correct that thing, because sometimes people just say, oh, African culture, African it's not,
we can help it.
Yes, but you know, if we keep shouting at them, we keep criticizing them, we keep comparing them, then the next minute we're saying it's time to go to church. We have to go to church. Yeah, have you read your Bible? Have your children are confused, like, what? What's going on?
Yes.
We've got to we have to model this Christian life. We've got to model it, both at home and outside.
Yeah.
Our children can see us in both. So our children say, "What's that? You're being fake."
Fake mom and fake dad.
Yes, you're being fake.
Yeah.
And they mean what they're saying.
Yeah.
When they say those things.
Yeah.
So we have to model that Christian way of living, even as we speak to them about school, as we encourage them. We've got to show them those fruits of the Holy Spirit. Let them see it from us, so that they can then use that when they go outside. Very, very important.
Very important. So, you're going back to school, you're watching us, or your parent, your kids are going back to school. I hope you have learned something wonderful this afternoon with Phinnah. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
What will be your final words to parents and to students, to teenagers, and everyone going back to school?
Okay, I'll start with parents first. So for parents, I will say you are doing an amazing job. It's never easy. Parenting is not an easy journey at all. But what I would encourage you is to remember that the illiterates of this 21st century, they're not people who cannot read or write. The illiterates are people who are not willing to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So I will encourage you in this journey, as they're going back to school and this new school term, be open to learn more. Be open to unlearn things that are not working, and be open to relearn things. And then for our teenagers and for our children, you guys are amazing. I want you to remember that as you step into school. Don't worry about the friends who act funny in school. Don't worry about the people who don't do the right things. Focus on doing the right things. Focus on being you. Focus on loving you. And focus on what you can do to make yourself successful. You've got it in you. You've got the wisdom, you've got the power, you've got the strengths. So go out there and be your best. And we are all here rooting for you.
Fantastic. We're all here rooting for you. It's been amazing having you this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. Our show has been brought to you courtesy of Lechi Organics, one of the amazing soaps out there that you want to try. I am so thankful that you tuned in. Make sure next Sunday you tune in, and have a wonderful week ahead. And for all those going back to school, some are traveling, we wish you the best. Take care.
Take care.